A number of years ago, I had a client who was in my office for a meeting, and I was ordering lunch. I asked him what he wanted. He said, "I'll take a chili dog and some French fries." I said, "What would you like to drink?" He said, "I'm thinking about a King James." I said, "Listen, it's in the middle of the day. We're here for a meeting. I can't order you something alcoholic." He said, "What are you talking about? I'm not ordering alcohol. I ordered a King James. You don't know who King James is?" I said, "You mean the guy involved with the translation of the Bible many years ago?" He said, "No. King James is the best basketball player in the world. LeBron James. You never saw his commercials for Sprite? A King James is a Sprite." Since then, in my house, if someone wants a Sprite, we say, "I'm thinking about a King James." Now, that was a memorable conversation. But there's a far more memorable and interesting one that takes place in conjunction with the beginning of this week's Torah portion. If you have the chance to peek into an actual Torah, you'll see that the very first word in Vayikra is spelled with a small aleph at the end. And there's a reason for that. When Moshe was doing his duty as God's loyal stenographer, writing down every word of the Torah as it was dictated to him from on high, including all of the flourishes and the crowns, when he got to this word Vayikra, which describes God calling Moshe, Moshe did not want to write the word. He asked God if he could eliminate the aleph, because Vayikra is a term of calling to a friend. It's a term of affection. And Moshe, in his vast humility, was uncomfortable with that. Moshe wanted to write the word without an aleph, which would have been a different verb. It would have suggested that God happened upon him perchance, the same verb that's used later when God speaks to the prophet Bilam. But God said to Moshe, "Write the full word, including the last letter. Write it as I dictated it." To which Moshe, our sages tell us, said something along the lines of, "God, respectfully, I'm thinking about a small aleph. Can I at least do that?" And that God allowed. And so for posterity, we've got this message. We see that Moshe was still working on his humility long after he had already reached the zenith, the peak of human spiritual perfection. But it doesn't just teach us that. It also shows us, via this exchange, that being humble doesn't mean being weak or timid. Can you imagine being selected to be Shakespeare's stenographer? Would you have the brazenness to tell his bardship, "Excuse me, I've got a suggestion. How about instead of friends, Romans, countrymen, we'd go with buddies, Romans, countrymen, or dudes, Romans, countrymen"? Fortunately, Shakespeare would shoot that down, but it would be a pretty chutzpahdik thing to try. And yet here's Moshe, God's stenographer, arguing with him, making a suggested editorial revision, first in the wording of the Torah, God rejects that, and then in the manner in which the word is written, God accepts that. Because Moshe's telling us, if you run towards honor, it'll run away from you. If you run away from honor, it'll run towards you. So if you really want to be great, you have to aim to be small. You have to be humble, which means not that you can't be proud of your talents, not that you can't be self-assertive or self-confident. You can be all those things. But the credit for your talents, the credit for your accomplishments, all goes to God, and you're always recognizing the distance between you and Him.